Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Ministers, Honourable Leader of Opposition, Honourable Members of Parliament. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to deliver a ministerial statement. Madam Speaker, I wish to cover in this statement key issues that have been either misconstrued or sensationalized in the media. And one of the key issues the media and certain members of this August House continue to be misinformed about and misinform others is PACER Plus. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that Fiji has not opted out or disengaged in PACER Plus negotiations since we came to the table. To the contrary, Madam Speaker, our engagement and our tactful negotiations has made the current agreement more development friendly. Issues, Madam Speaker, such as the infant industry development were not part of the original deal, but were only included only after Fiji put it on the table. Madam Speaker, it was reported that PACER Plus legal text was concluded in Brisbane last week without Fiji's presence. Now, we do not consider this, Madam Speaker, to be the end game for negotiations. The agreement is not signed, and we will continue to negotiate and demand our rights until we are satisfied that PACER Plus is in our interest and does not constrain our potential for development. Madam Speaker, we were not able to attend the meeting as the notice had come out late and clashed with some of the important issues, national issues that were confirmed way back. However, Madam Speaker, I had written to my counterparts in Australia and New Zealand and to the Office of the Chief Trade Advisor requesting for a deferment of the Brisbane meeting and to afford us time to be able to attend. I also highlighted that Fiji needed changes in PACER Plus to make the deal more fair to the Pacific Island countries. And these related primarily to two issues. That was to infant industry development provisions and to the third-party most favoured nation provisions. Madam Speaker, going forward, Fiji will take every opportunity to be engaged in the process and push our concerns even after the deal is signed. There should not be any misconceptions out there as to what our position is and what it will take for Fiji to commit to PACER Plus. In this regard, also, Madam Speaker, the Honourable Prime Minister will be meeting the Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull on COP23 issues. And we will once again make sure that the Prime Minister is well briefed, and the Prime Minister will also clearly lay out position on the table with respect to PACER Plus. He will articulate what it will take for Fiji to commit to PACER Plus. And I repeat, Madam Chair, we do not want an agreement that does more harm than good. And I think it's not just us, Madam Speaker. Even in Australia, there are rumblings going on with respect to how it's been conducted so far. Madam Speaker, we will work towards clarifying the issues of concern to us, particularly the very constraining third-party most favoured nation, commonly known as the MFN clause, a very effective infant industry clause, and jointly come up with an innovative approach. Madam Speaker, we believe the current versions of these two provisions could actually be disastrous to Fiji in terms of our growth, of our industries, and our approach to forge a favourable partnership with Australia, with our trading partners Australia and New Zealand. As Fiji, we still believe Australia and New Zealand are trying to understand our positions, and this was demonstrated last year when we managed to reach consensus on a number of issues. Madam Speaker, it's been stated that come June 2017, PACER Plus is expected to be signed by those countries that have agreed to it. Madam Speaker, to this date, that actual date doesn't matter to us. What matters at the end of the day is a fair deal for the Pacific and Fiji. And we will continue to push for this even after the agreement is signed, as I said before, but we are a country that is committed to PACER Plus and to see if we can sign the deal. Madam Speaker, I hope that this will put to rest any issues that may be with regards to PACER Plus and any misconceptions about Fiji's participation. Madam Speaker, another issue that keeps cropping up in this August House is Fiji and PNG's bilateral trade. I had in the last session updated Parliament that the issue of market access for PNG products had been cleared, and furthermore, for the information of the side of the House, Madam Speaker, Fiji and PNG senior trade and foreign affairs officials met in Port Moresby last week, and this is part of a formal structure that we have in place where the senior officials discuss trade and economic issues to enhance bilateral relations. Madam Speaker, the outcome is that the meeting was very successful, and officials are working together to address trade investment related issues that can ensure that the bilateral economic relations are enhanced. Some misconceptions also. It's quite incorrect, Madam Speaker, to say that the Fijian government is not working with its key trading partners. In fact, the opposition sometimes fails to also understand there's a very important and pertinent issue which is climate change, and it is critically important for the growth and development of our nation. And protection of the natural resources and the environment is intricately linked with trade and investment. Therefore, Madam Speaker, just to put into perspective, the current role of Fiji as the COP23 President by the Honourable Prime Minister is critical to highlight to the rest of the world, especially the developed nations, that they need to take corrective action to ensure our survival. So COP23 and the fight against climate change, Madam Speaker, to put it very simply, is our investment into the future. And hence, Madam Speaker, we request the other side of the House not to be ignorant of the fact that climate change is real, and if we are to survive as a nation and continue providing for our people, leading this charge from the front is critical. Madam Speaker, also moving from trade to another critical matter, which is a matter of public information. I think it's good to get this out in the public space, is with respect to Vatukola gold mine. Madam Speaker, it was brought to the attention of the Ministry that the safety of the workers at the mine was being compromised, as workers had been seriously injured. This led to an issuance of a stop work order. Madam Speaker, the mine has been in operation for about 75 odd years, and this is the first time that I think there's a stop work order that's been issued. Since the notice, Madam Speaker, the Department of Mineral Resources is working with Vatukola Gold Mine to review the work area, re-entry procedure, and mine plan is reviewed with monitoring and reporting systems, including refresher training on safety and first aid certification. Madam Speaker, just the re-entry procedure, this is before a safety audit, is mandatory immediately after shutdown due to changing conditions underground where no work is being undertaken. A team has been sent underground preceding the safety audit to check on the safety for re-entry, with checks on things like ventilation, the slopes and height of the actual rock faces, and supporting props and pillars for roofs and walls of work areas. Madam Speaker, this procedure is to ensure that the underground work areas are well ventilated for the safety of the worker, and furthermore, checks are being done on the integrity of the slopes and the heights of rock faces, which need to have well-supported roofs and to avoid rock falls and collapse of drive walls. Madam Speaker, once the technical officials at the Mineral Resources Department are satisfied that the underground mines are complying with all safety requirements and that no miners, and I repeat, no miner's health and life is at risk, the re-entry is authorized to take place. Now, Madam Speaker, any area that is deemed unsafe working areas will be closed off until the company completes all rehabilitation processes and the re-entry plans are ready and safe to be executed. Madam Speaker, re-entry will only be issued if the plans are examined, verified and approved by the Mineral Resources Department. The decision will be based on, as I said earlier, on the efficiency of ventilation, competent rock mass designation and detailed geological characteristics of such long wall panels. Madam Speaker, as I stated earlier, the safety of the workers is most important. Therefore, a timeline for the completion of this audit needs to be thoroughly planned. The entire process will be strictly monitored by the inspectors of Mineral Resources Department to ensure that all the procedures and processes are completed in the required manner. And the Ministry of Lands and Mineral Resources officials, Madam Speaker, are working around the clock to ensure the safety issues identified in the stop work order are addressed. Madam Speaker, also the Vatukola Gold Mine Limited Management are fully aware of the procedures that are currently being undertaken, and they have been advised by the technical officials of the safety audit plan, including mandatory compliance to all conditions for improvement established by the MRD team. And whilst the procedures are being undertaken, Madam Speaker, and this is very important, what's called a Gold Mine Limited has given a commitment that they will continue paying salary during the period of stop work. And the company has paid compensation for fatalities and has also subsidized the health insurance cover for workers. Madam Speaker, just moving on to concerns raised on river gravel extraction at a particular site in the west that was raised by Honourable Noai Kohli yesterday, I'd like to inform the House that the stop work order is still in force and no license for extraction has been issued. The environmental impacts assessment from by the Environment Division of the Ministry of Lands and Mineral Resources will have a look at the report that comes out of the environmental of the ministry which looks after environment, Ministry for Infrastructure. Madam Speaker, I'd like to assure the House that the ministry is doing its best to monitor and inspect extractive activities that fall under its jurisdiction. Something else, Madam Speaker, that has been brought out in the public space, there have been recent allegations made in the media with respect to deep sea mining, licenses being issued to some companies in Fiji. Madam Speaker, I'd like to inform the House that there has not been any deep sea mining license issued. A proper approval process that needs to be followed by any applicant has to be completed, and it has to be shown by the company that has done an adequate exploratory study to identify and assess the resource. The exploration approval process itself undergoes vigilant scrutiny to be able to prove that the company is able financially and technically, and the resource is feasible to be sustainably extracted. Extensive consultations with all stakeholders, especially the Ngoli owners, and a detailed environmental impact assessment would need to be completed by the applicants. Therefore, Madam Speaker, a license for deep sea mining cannot be issued privately without the public, especially the Ngoli owners, knowing. So hence we request the media to adhere to responsible and truthful reporting rather than making speculations. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you for allowing me to take the floor and to address some of the pertinent issues that have been raised in the public space, and I hope that clarifies all those issues. Madam Speaker, each person has a responsibility, especially those in this House, to ensure that the information that they circulate is supported by facts and facts only. Speculations only react in confusion and uncertainty. And I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I now call on the Leader of Opposition or her designate to deliver a response.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Minister for his brief and update this morning. You all know that trade is a leading component for investment and job creation, and likewise tourism. And the small and micro enterprises are equally important, if not being the most crucial of all, because it eases the burden of government to provide employment for people in a major way. We've heard the clarifications and the pictures that have been painted by the Honourable Minister, and I give credit where it's due for ventures that have indeed materialized. The number of hotels and businesses that have opened up are evident, but also worrying are some associated issues. For example, for tourism, the number of taxes, hotel turnover taxes and similar taxes has now made our tourism destination probably one of the most expensive in the world. Madam Speaker, it will be interesting to note that the Minister to inform this House on the fluctuating rate of occupancy at our hotels since the introduction of these taxes. Good businesses will know that we need to be cautious about how we raise the price of goods, of our commodities amongst competition. If we are not careful, then our competitors can easily gain from our greed. On that note, Madam Speaker, it's sad to note that despite the massive profits derived by hoteliers, their staffs have been poorly paid, as evident in the attempts this side of the House has made in recent months to bring some of the petitions to be tabled in this House. I urge the Honourable Minister to keep a close eye on the issues. Hotels like Pearl Resort, the recent GPH, are some of the examples of hotels suggested to be mistreating staffs, and there may be many others. We must not allow the exploitation of our people at the expense of wealth creation. On tourism, Madam Speaker, the long-standing issue of proper compensation to landowners is still also an area of concern. Recent practices like the granting of boating and bus licenses for certain areas, certain companies in Denarau to serve as tourists in the island have raised the eye of landowners who claim they were overlooked in these business ventures that they could benefit from and used to benefit from. On the issue of trade, Madam Speaker, I will touch on the issue of sustainable, safe and credible trading practices. A lot of developments are now occurring around the country, but in certain areas, we've had major issues in security and safety. Recently, the CEO of Biosecurity, Xavier Khan, resigned, citing influence by the Ministry of Trade, impacting on their ability to provide uncompromised safety and security for goods and services used by people. He made the statements as he resigned. Like the general public, I can only guess his resignation was linked to the PNG corned beef issue. Whatever it is, Madam Speaker, I will urge government to resist the temptation to compromise on our national safety and security principles. There is a simple dialogue that could have eventuated in the case of PNG saga. Madam Speaker, there are many other areas of concern that government has to look out for. Now we will chair the COP23. I'm hoping that we will relook at some of our own domestic policies that have impact on our environment. In the drive to create investment and trade opportunities in Fiji, we have succumbed to unsafe trading practices. The recent floods and TC Winston brought to light many areas of concern, which makes climate change real for us. But the stated development has a direct effect on the environment. For example, the after effects of the bauxite mining in Noelia Winbo is still felt today, when the fish, crabs and eels, for example, in their traditional fishing rigs, have changed color, making the people of Noelia fearful of eating them. Likewise, the sand mining, now set to take off at the Singatoka River by an Australian company, will no doubt have an effect on the surrounding environment and the nearby Sand Dunes National Park, which contains an important Lapita archaeology site. The mining in the Nabo River has resulted in depletion of fish and water mussels, as well as making the river very shallow, according to a survey done by SOPEC. We have now, as well, the sand extraction in the Rewa River by the Chinese company operating their business in Tonga. There have been suggestions that following TC Winston in the Tier 4, the slow receding of floodwaters in the area were attributed to the sand extraction being conducted in the area. We recently had the Ministry of Regional Development present to the Public Accounts Committee, and the Permanent Secretary was admirably very frank in his admission that the exercise was taking up a lot of time, and that only a few people would end up receiving the grants. An example was given where in Talibu, out of 15,000.
Point of order.
Madam Speaker, please give us direction in this respect. We understand when matters are before the Public Accounts Committee, or any other committee for that matter, that those matters are on foot. The Honourable Member has just quoted a civil servant that appeared before the committee that he's referring to, and then using that to talk about and address this particular subject matter. Is that permissible? I'm asking not your input, I'm asking Honourable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just want a direction from you. Is that permissible? Because I thought the general position was that if the matter is before a committee, or any proceedings of the committee, or any content of the proceedings of the committee, is not to be discussed until the committee actually presents its report. And what the Honourable Member is doing is actually quoting from what supposedly what somebody said before the committee. How do we know it's actually factually correct? And how do we know in what context was it said? So we should wait until the committee has actually given its report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The point of order is very valid, and as the members know that whatever issues that are with the committee should not be brought up into Parliament until after the report of the committee has been tabled. Please refrain from quoting from any issues that have been brought up with the committee. Thank you.
I was just merely trying to highlight the discrepancies of the SMEs, Madam Speaker.
Despite that, you still do not refer to any issues discussed in the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On that note, I thank the Honourable Minister again for the brief, and I urge that the issues are highlighted be kindly taken into consideration.
Thank you. I now call on the leader of the NFP or his designate to speak in response.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honourable Minister for his update on trade, tourism, micro, small and medium enterprises. All these three areas, Madam Speaker, are very important. Credible trade policy, vibrant tourism and vibrant micro, small and medium enterprises are very, very important for job creation. On that note, Madam Speaker, let me just remind both the Minister for Education and the Minister for Employment and Industrial Relations not to parrot this nonsense that reducing the retirement age from 60 to 55 is going to create no new jobs. It doesn't create new jobs, it's only replacement. And many of them are only in the civil service. So if you're looking at creating new jobs for young people, we've got to look at alternative credible policies. They repeated it many times that this is jobs for young people. On the trade, on the mines, Madam Speaker, I want to commend the Minister where he's given assurance that the workers' safety will be paramount and they'll continue to be paid. But I also want to remind the Minister to monitor the whole Batukola gold mines. The lives of about 1,400 families are important there, in terms of the safety and the viability of the mines, and I hope that will be on the agenda of the Honourable Minister at all times. With respect to trade, Madam Speaker, I get a sense that there is a failing capacity within the ministry and within the government to actually negotiate a much better trade agreement. And when the Minister talked about not being able to make it to Brisbane, this is a very important matter, Madam Speaker, and it's a lame excuse to say that the notice came late. If what the Minister is saying is correct, if they are still engaged with the PESA Plus negotiation, then they must make sure that they are there representing Fiji and making sure that we get our case heard very, very clearly. It's no good coming out here and saying that we were not able to make it to the meeting. So, and PESA Plus is an important, I agree with him, that we need to have a good agreement. We need to push for the development plank within that agreement. But staying away from the meeting is not going to help us to get a very good trade agreement. On tourism, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, as I said, tourism industry, a vibrant tourism industry is very important. I think there are a lot of strains within the tourism industry, ranging from the costs. We may be pricing ourselves out of the tourism market. I looked at the March statistics. The trend, again, is very clear that there are declining numbers from our major source destinations. And I think it's a cause for concern because if that trend continues, and because we have very small numbers from new sources, the overall trend after a period of time could actually decrease. I just also want to make this point on cruise visitor arriving in our country. There are reports, Madam Speaker, which says, for example, that our ports are not good. And in fact, a good port should have a rating of 8 and above. But our rating is about 7.2. So really, I mean, if we're looking at a big tourism industry, which includes cruise ship business as well, we ought to look at these indicators. I mean, it's there. Our rating is 7.2. Honourable Minister, it's not a good port. It's not a good port right now. It's important. It's important. So really, Madam Speaker, there are strains on our trade policy framework. Trade negotiations. I think there is a failing capacity, and also I would urge the Honourable Minister for Economy to rethink some of the policies that he put out into the last budget, for example, the STT and other costs that he's burdened on the tourism industry, and also the small, medium enterprises. Madam Speaker, medium enterprises are very important for job creation. And what is happening is medium enterprises in this country are reeling under a burden of regulation and high costs. And many of them are complaining to us, coming to us, and they are watching this government's policy, and they will make sure that it is not happen. Thank you, Madam Speaker. You are not the Speaker. The Honourable Attorney General, you are not the Speaker.
Order.
It's the Speaker who will order me to sit down. Please don't say that again. Don't say that again.
Order. I am on my feet. Thank you.